Previously on the recap sequence.
It's the recap sequence, and we're back. It's 2024. We had quite a year. It capped off by I'm gonna say this, admit this out loud. It was my 30th high school reunion on December 26th. So I was very quickly reminded of my age. So it's nice to get back to this.
It's funny because I saw the pictures, and that was a really nice sweater that Mike from Ink Monkeys did for you guys.
Yeah, it was one of a kind until people saw it, and then it became 5 or 6 of a kind, and hopefully more. Actually, just a good thing for Ink Monkeys potentially is there may be an opportunity to make more, and maybe raise some money for my high school. So
absolutely,
yeah.
And not to disparage on age or anything, but. We're back with Brent. How are you, Brent?
Doing great, guys. Happy New Year. Yeah.
Same to you. Here's
what an intro, not to disparage, but age. But here we've got Brent.
What I'm getting to is Karen Whitfield posted the other day. I don't know if you guys knew this, but so we're recording this on Saturday, January 13th. Yesterday, January 12th, marked 58 years, the debut of Batman with Burt Ward and Adam West.
Wow.
TV, on
okay.
ABC. So
older than me. Something older than me. That's fantastic. That feels good. Thank you, Ryan.
You're very welcome.
All right.
You're very welcome. But I love that show. Like I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was like, oh my God, like 58. That's incredible.
Yeah.
You remember watching those ones, Brent, as a kid?
I sure do. Yeah, sure do. Yeah. 66 was it?
Yep.
Wow. Time has flown. Oh, and look, we speaking of superheroes and time, we watched What If over the holidays, and we're all caught up on that, so we're ready to talk about it. A time being a theme of What If of both seasons, I guess. What season?
Did I binge watched it, Brent? I don't know about you. Did you watch it like as each episode came out each day?
No, unfortunately, we were amongst those many apparently this holiday season that caught that flu, and it knocked us out. It was rough. So we didn't watch it until significantly later. As a matter of fact, I just watched the last episode last night.
Amazing! Great.
Yeah, but I did. We didn't do them. No, we did them kind of one at a time for the most part, and got to kind of appreciate them individually, and then appreciate how, like they did in the season 1, where they kind of brought it together, where there's pieces of the things that you've seen through the various episodes kind of come together at the end to pull it all together into one sort of story. And there's a lot of this that comes right out of season 1 too. So I very generally I thought these were really well done. Animation was amazing. Yeah. What did you guys enjoy these as much as season 1?
I did. I found I had to rewatch a couple because truth be told, I'm on vacation that time, and I got them on just in the afternoon. Apparently it's nap time for me, so I slept through some of them. I'll be frank with you here. But what I'm curious, Brent, is with some of these episodes, one in particular stands out. Is it a potential that we could see this transition to Disney Plus or the MCU films? And I'm referring to Kahori.
Yes, actually. And it's funny, the description you just had there about things sort of bleeding into other media, other shows, or I wasn't thinking Kahori per se, because other things were ringing from this season that were like, oh, that's a setup. We could see that showing up somewhere, and it seemed like they were hinting at it. But to your question there, yeah, 100%. They certainly did. They gave her sort of a big feature after her individual episode, which was tremendous.
It was, yeah.
But they brought her right back. This overall was really a Captain Carter centric led storyline focused. But then when it comes right down to the end, and there's the big challenge with the strange Supreme still up to his shenanigans from season 1, who's looking after things, but Captain Carter and Kahori. So they seem to be really focusing on her.
Because going with looking at the first season, I think this, because I don't recall if they did this in the first season or not. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was an introduction with Kahori to a brand new character. I don't think they did that in season 1, did they? Where they actually just introduced, because we're familiar with all the characters, these stories,
and that was the thing too. When I watched this episode, I was like, what did I miss here? Like, I know I'm not on the tip of the spear for all the information in the Marvel universe, but I had never heard anything about this cohort. And actually, like you, Brent, I didn't get a chance to watch it as it came out. I watched it, kind of in a slow binge over a period of a few days, and then I think it was episode 5 or 6 was the Kahori episode. And it was, for me, it was just kind of came from out of nowhere, right. And I was like, where is this person coming from? Powered by the Tesseract, even, and how come we have never heard of this amazing individual? But so this was this an original creation for this particular series?
It was.
Wow.
Yeah, and so sometimes that's a bit iffy, but this one was, I think, a success. They did a really great job with it and had a lot of fun. I think that there were, it's What If, right? What If coming out of the 70s. This is what they did: is they took stories you were familiar with, story arcs, story beats, and then they would sort of twist them, put a twist on them so that it's different characters. So in a way, they do create new characters with all of these episodes in a way. Not quite so uniquely as in this case, where it's establishing something brand new. And it again, really cool that they did the entire episode in the Mohawk language.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was really neat, and with tremendous visuals, and like the lore. I find it I know we're not talking about Echo quite yet, but since it's going on, again, touching on the lore and how Marvel has the ability to have a unique take on that and make it fit right in with the comics characters. That was super fun. So the episode 6, the Kahori episode, I thought was really well done.
And she's I would assume, are her powers on par with Captain Marvel then? I mean, they both seem to have the same source, and I don't know, like, she seems unstoppable.
Yeah, these Infinity Stones don't stop, do they?
They're pretty great. And I gotta say, I'm glad that we didn't. They're still coming up. I know, like, there may be some people out there, come up with another device or whatever. But one of my favorite scenes in the whole thing was when Kahori basically yeeted Killmonger from the Infinity suit.
Yeah.
I need that suit. It's like, okay, and out he goes, and then Captain Carter puts it on, and holy cow. And not to jump right to the end, but pretty much every trinket in the Marvel Cinematic Universe made an appearance in this finale. But basically, this overloaded, supercharged Captain Marvel with with the rings, with everything, and that's really what it took to defeat the Strange Supreme.
Yeah.
Incidentally, did anybody actually trust him at any point during this? Or did anybody actually think there was something good happening when he was pulling them into? I for a brief second, when these little vortexes started opening up and he started bringing people in, I thought, okay, well, here we go. It's a Watcher style Guardians kind of team he's trying to put together, but obviously not. Were you fooled at all, Brent?
Well, my nature is I don't like to make assumptions. So I wasn't entirely sure which version of Stephen Strange this was.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't, I didn't know which way they were going with it. And it wasn't until we're partway in the episode where they actually confirm this is the Stephen Strange who was stuck in in that crystalline construct where his universe had sort of collapsed in on himself, and he was, there from season 1. So this is that particular Stephen Strange, and so I thought it was
the same
it was a good
Strange
play.
that we're introduced to from oh my god, the second Doctor Strange film, is it?
No, I think we have set these. This is a separate guy because he's been trapped. He's been trapped. Since his universe, he went on his escapade through season 1 and caused all kinds of trouble.
So we know 3 right now. Then, as it stands, 3. We've been introduced to 3 Doctor Stranges. So
more. There's been in season 1 of What If there was several. And then of course, and I think we got a couple in Multiverse of Madness, and we had so we've got, and then we have our 616, and then we have some in this season where we have the 1602 mixed version, and we have there's all these iterations of characters, and then I guess there's all kinds of characters that sort of show up at the end here too, pulling from all over the place.
Including we got our zombies again.
Yeah, there was some zombies. Yeah, of course. Yeah. We got our Christmas episode too. I don't know. There wasn't a Christmas one in season 1, was there?
No. I enjoyed. I thought the Christmas episode was probably my favorite out of all of them because 2 things. Justin Hammer.
Oh yeah,
I absolutely love that character. I mean, they even got the little walk there, right? When the same thing he does in Iron Man 2. He's walking on the stage and does the little shuffle. Love that. And happy as a Hulk was pretty fun to see, and it was kind of cool to see him come back. I was and weird at the same time, but it is whatever. That I was not expecting to see the Hulk come back. To see Happy as the Hulk come back. But is it a Hulk though, Brent? It's a bastardized version.
What is
of the
he?
Hulk.
Yeah.
Well, this I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this or not, but this is right out of the books.
Really?
Okay.
Happy Hogan, back in the Tales of Suspense Iron Man and the very early years of Invincible Iron Man, when it got its own series. For a while there, Captain America and Iron Man were sharing a book under Tales of Suspense for a little while Marvel had a restricted number of books that they were allowed to print. And then once that was lifted, then their doubled up books, they could split them off again. Iron Man went into Invincible Iron Man. Captain America got his own book. So Invincible Iron Man #1 is not Iron Man's first appearance, of course, because he had his Tales of Suspense origin that led into Invincible Iron Man. Well, this story of Happy Hogan becoming the Freak, this is his title in the books. He was a recurring. This is a recurring character situation, and due to some shenanigans in the stories, Happy was exposed to this stuff. He ended up becoming this mutated character, and Tony Stark had to fight against his best friend, and and this would happen, and then they just stopped. They never kind of really went back to that. Well, Happy and Pepper kind of stayed in the past there for a good long stretch, and those characters were kind of left behind, and it really, they did eventually kind of come back in more recent decades here, but anyway, I'm getting in the weeds of all the details.
That's
here.
Where we need to go sometimes.
This is so interesting. I had no idea that this was actually from the books.
Yeah, so the take here that they have, sort of a mix with the MCU flavor, is Justin Hammer is invading Stark's Stark Tower, Avengers Tower, and he's looking for the Hulk formula, but through the shenanigans, Hogan ends up injecting the Banner's blood, is what I think they were calling it, into himself, and thus we have the origin of the Freak in the MCU, which hey, old school Iron Man fan is like, very cool, awesome. I never ever thought I would see that happening, but here we go. And that, like you say, and that they kept him. They brought him right through to the Robin Hood story of 1602, where he's the sheriff of Nottingham, and he's
funny.
right, and we get an appearance of the Freak return. So we've got the Freak versus Banner, and so they're having a lot of fun with this. But I agree, same thing. I love that holiday, that Christmas episode, and it's going to be on my Christmas watch list every year from now on.
I really liked Bee Gees era Hulk there too, with the beard and the long hair. I thought he looked super cool. Kind of reminded me a bit of my dad, actually. Because I think that 1602 episode was one of my favorites because of just the variety that they brought in, and I loved the idea. I loved the how it kind of resolved itself, because I when it started, I thought, how is this going to even make sense? That was one of those episodes that I did actually I read a spoiler on by accident, and it mentioned this going back in time and the conundrum it created for Steve Rogers having kind of screwed things up essentially, and that's what created the issue back in that Carter came in and kind of fixed, I guess. So anyway, when I watched it, I wasn't skeptical. I was just kind of like, how are they going to make this make sense, and what are the ramifications? 400 and 20 odd years later, but they made it work, and I loved it. And I love the I just love the look of the Hulk. Angry dad.
The yellow jackets and the
yes.
the band of like the Robin Hood led by Steve Rogers, but you've got Scott Lang and Winter Soldier, Bucky, and the notes of well, instead of Prince John, you've got three. You've got this royalty, Thor and Loki and Hela, which they were played on a fair bit through this series as well. So definitely very clear Robin Hood vibes going on here.
Really good voice actor selections for those that they couldn't get. I don't know the voice actors for Steve Rogers, for example.
So there were three that I caught that they changed the actors.
It was Tony,
Steve Rogers, and Black Widow, because Lake Bell did the voice of Black Widow.
Right, and she did it in season 1 as well. Like she was that voice. Did they use the same from season 1 in? They did a fantastic. I find anybody who does a Robert Downey Jr. Tony, it's an impression. It kind of comes across as that, but it was really well done. But I gotta say the Chris Evans guy really nailed it.
Yeah, I thought he was good too. We got lots of Steve Rogers throughout this, the Hydra Stomper, and really so much of this Peggy Carter, Captain Carter story is the Steve Rogers story flipped. Where she's she's chasing this dream of the relationship that they could have had, just like Steve was in the MCU, in this across this multiversal story. There's so many, even right down to the question, when she's being asked, to talk about Steve, and she says, "No, I don't think I will." Again, just like Steve did in, and so they really lean into the lines that were used and the established stuff that we see, but they put that twist on it. That's what If is all about.
It was, and I particularly liked that one moment too, when she was fighting Stephen Strange at the end, or Strange Supreme, or whatever you want to call him. Strange Supreme sounds like a pizza, but anyway, so they were having this, and she basically turned down an opportunity to live in a reality with Steve, and told Stephen Strange, "No, I wouldn't do that." Like he was basically saying what he would do to get Christine back, and he was implying she'd do the same. To a point, I think she would have, and but then she had that sobering moment of, "No, I wouldn't," and it stopped him for a split second. It stopped Stephen Strange, made him think for a second, and then he kind of doubled down. Unfortunately for him, but I thought that was a really good moment, because they had a really cool relationship. So I was really hoping that they were working on kind of another Guardians thing to solve a problem together, and it was fine the way that it sorted itself out. That he was just the ultimate baddie, of course, but I just love that moment between those two.
Me too. I thought they were terrific. Using that as sort of the mechanism to get to the end, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought that they did a decent job kind of tying that together. I thought how they now where originally I thought you guys were going with this line of questions here was like, well, where things that could be appearing. Well, look at the end, after the Stephen Strange problem is solved, where does the Watcher take? Captain Carter is saying, okay, I'm ready to go back to my universe now, but maybe we could take the scenic route.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing that the Watcher shows her? But Loki's tree of the multiversal tree.
Yeah.
Which to me was a direct hint. Okay, come Secret Wars,
we're getting Captain Carter. Yes.
They have to bring her in. Like this, it's too good. They've made a much I don't know. I'm saying a much better hero, but she's got a real special quality that they've latched on to from season 1, and then, like you said at the beginning of our call here today, this was really a Captain Carter centric series or season, and really, I really hope they run with it. I'd love to see more Haley Atwell. I'd love to see her in the suit like we did in Multiverse of Madness. So maybe there's an opportunity here that we're seeing.
Brent, does that mean if with Secret Wars coming up, that is there a possibility that we will actually see the Watcher then? Because I loved the dynamic between Captain Carter and the Watcher when, she suddenly realized, she realizes he's there and he's basically screwed up again. Because the last time we saw this was when, Ultron figured out who he was and went after him, right? From season 1 and What If. With this one, he doesn't know how to interact. He's they're doing his monologue and she's like, I can see you.
Yeah.
He's kind of a bumbler. You expect the Watcher just to be this cosmic thing of grace that doesn't have flubs or bloopers, but he does. He makes his own mistakes along the way. I'm not sure if he was adequately warning. I guess he can't meddle too much. He watches.
No, but when he offered to take her back to her universe, so what was going to transpire didn't affect her.
Right.
It's almost like he was saying, you're not going to win this. And yet she does become victorious over Strange Supreme.
Well, twice he said get out of it, and she didn't, and she came out, kind of having solved a major issue. I'm very interested to see what happens, and like Ryan said, it would be interesting to see the Watcher make an appearance in Secret Wars, or perhaps
something leading up to it.
She may have something to bring to Secret Wars involving, having dealt with some things with the Watcher. Maybe I don't know. Does she become kind of a Watcher by virtue of being with him for this scenic route?
Well, it's interesting that they have this Guardians of the Multiverse team up that coming out of season 1 and dealing with the Ultron situation, which was terrific. But them glomming onto Captain Carter here, she does seem to have this particular relationship with Uatu, the Watcher, and he's. This is a bit of a different take on the Watcher. It throws me off every time he says what the hell,
right?
I'm like, the Watcher doesn't say what the hell. This is not. Yeah. It sort of throws me off a little bit. But this dynamic that you're talking about is, she challenges him. I mean, he's the jaded character who has seen, an infinite number of universes come and go. He's seen universes get destroyed all the time. He knows when a universe is about to no longer be, because he says that I can't see into the future of this universe. It means that it's coming to an end. And this universe is coming to an end. So I know he respects that she's fighting for something, but he's telling her, look, I can tell you that this universe is going to be no more. But at the same time, she kind of accomplishes her goal anyway. in spite of that. So, which again is a very Captain America, Captain Carter type of a dynamic. I can do this all day, kind of do what's right approach. So they are. You're right. They're a really fun kind of dynamic, and maybe we would get a little bit more of them somehow. I fully expect that we're going to get Watcher coming at some point here into Secret Wars, but Fantastic Four maybe. They're going to be getting into that pretty soon. There's speculation about when the cameras will start to roll. It's supposed to be this year here, at some point, not too distant future. So I'm looking forward to see where we will see the Watcher. I'm convinced that we will. If it'll be this same guy, I'm going to guess it will. It will be
Jeffrey Wright.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope so.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm guessing they would continue with him.
Brent, I want to bring up something Jamie mentioned a little while back, and this references what you're just saying about Jeffrey Wright continuing on as the voice of the Watcher. Do we know why, at any point, why Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, or Black Widow didn't reprise the voice acting? Because really, I'm watching this season of What If here. I mean, they brought Kate Blanchett back as Hela, right? Chris Hemsworth is there, Tom Hiddleston, all of them. Even Jeff Goldblum, he's back as the Grand Master again. You would think that there's got to be something, unless it was like a scheduling conflict that they're not able to do this. But I'm sorry, voice recording is probably a little easier to do than it would be to, in front of the camera or whatever. So do we know why? Because really, those are the three that they recast, so to speak, the voice.
Well, a couple possibilities here. And a couple things to maybe that may have had some sort of influence. Voice acting is not the same, of course. Now, professional actors are often used and sometimes can pull that off nicely enough. But I will say Robert Downey Jr. came on board for the Iron Man video games and did the voiceover work for that. But Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, he has this soft dynamic. When he's talking, he's kind of a low talker, to use a Seinfeld phrase. His voice, once he's going low, it can be a little muddled, and so his personality, works on screen, but it didn't work that well with in that particular example. Now, that said, I think he's done voiceover work for other things too, and that worked okay. But there have been other Robert Downey Jr. like voices that have come in and have been able to nail the job better, because that's what their focus was, and they were delivering a clear script, in a take on Robert Downey Jr. that sort of invoked his famous vibe, but in sort of a very professional voiceover delivery. Now, is that the fact that they kind of contractually broke away from Robert Downey Jr. Okay, now's the time. We're going to sort of sever that cord and let Robert Downey Jr. go. That probably has something to do with it, because then Robert Downey Jr. goes on to other things, eventually gets in, plays a role in Oppenheimer and wins an award
for the Golden Globe for it.
His performance there. So he's kind of moved on in the real world, right? Where the actors get to move on and do other things. That's sort of reality probably creeping in here, where they don't get to jump in and and do all of the keeping their toe in, because they have their lives to move on. And the Scarlett Johansson, having a little bit of of a conflict with Disney there over the issues with the previous Bob Iger's previous predecessor, and have a little bit of a fight over contracts and money and streaming, and so. Could that have contributed to her not, being asked to come back? 100%.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So maybe those are things that, this is speculation, But these are the things that sort of play out in these types of dynamics, and that could easily explain why.
Strange Adventures, where you'll find comics, games, and toys for all ages and tastes. Come see us at 68 York Street, downtown Fredericton, or at www.strangeadventures.com, or reach us at 450-3759.
So, speaking of speculation, the season 3 trailer of What If was released right towards the end of it, and we got Red Guardian and Bucky Barnes in there, along with Bill Foster. That was one I wasn't expecting. A nice little treat there to see the Red Guardian.
Yes, I kept calling him the Winter Fox. That was his title for him. And yeah, so that seems like fun without laying too many cards down about where exactly they could be going with their season 3, but they gave us a bit of a peek at this story. So and just to give us an indication that, hey, more's happening, and so we have more to look forward to.
I got to say, just in general, it does not seem like the multiverse is locked up very tightly. In the last couple of years, we've seen many different forces take control of the creation of timelines, of the creation and destruction of other multiverses, even to the point where the Watcher's saying, "No, there's no future for this particular universe or timeline," and then Captain Carter saying, "Well, I think there is," and continuing it along, defying expectations. What kind of chaos are we looking at here going forward then into these movies? Who's really in control? Because I think we're led to believe, Kang's in control. Loki's now in control. The Watcher has some purview over what happens, but really it just seems like these things get and Doctor Strange, these things get out of hand fairly quickly. Is there what's the next level here? I think we're beyond cosmic and deities at this point. Is there another controlling factor that's going to come in here to kind of put the clamp down here on this bleeding multiverse issue?
We very well could be. There are still levels to go.
Okay,
with the Marvel cosmic universe, we've gone cosmic. We have the gods. But we've been getting some peeks in the recent movies at some of the characters that we could be running into here. So if we back up just a moment here, just to see, okay, the first phases of the Marvel story created these situations where time heists and things like this were causing problems, and then the Avengers, or Loki gets a cosmic cube and ends up outside of his own timeline, and so the mess that this is causing, it hints at some of the incursions and things that we were seeing in Multiverse of Madness, where universes were collapsing into each other, and we get the impression, these universes are being destroyed, and then Loki and all of those timelines getting destroyed, and there's a lot going on with Kang. Like you said, Kang is a central character in trying to steer that whole thing in a very particular direction, but Loki and his crew upended that, and now it's this ongoing struggle between characters within these circumstances that came out of the first set of movies. Now we're into starting to see characters like Eternity in Thor: Love and Thunder, and we're seeing we have potential characters like the In-Betweener, and we have these various characters who are hold the reins as far as judgment goes. We have very potentially we've been hinted at what happens with Celestials, and could this lead us to Galactus? There's a very strong hint that we could be seeing something from Galactus related to the Fantastic Four movie. And so we have there are still pieces to be put on the chessboard to see how we get to Secret Wars. And Secret Wars is kind of the how to resolve the scenario of the universes, multiple universes and timelines sort of crashing into each other and being destroyed. And they're going to use Secret Wars to resolve that. But they still have, some chess pieces to put on the table with some of these characters. The Living Tribunal. We've had a hint at the Living Tribunal in the Loki episodes in season 1, where they're outside of the main universe with Eliath and those types of characters. So, it's a stay tuned situation.
Okay,
it's unfolding. It's still unfolding.
This is good news, right? Because for me, it's like, okay, well, when we run out of places to go, what do we do? Do we just have this average Joe,
rewatch,
sitting there watching his breakfast change before his eyes as the multiverses go through these things? Like, this is great. Good point. You brought up Galactus, and I really want to see. I want to see the MCU Galactus. I didn't like the last. I didn't like. And Galactus was kind of weird.
Brent, sorry, I just want to ask, with Secret Wars, there's a rumor. Is this going to be 2 films?
Well, they the way that they had it, and I at this point, I still don't see any reason why they would have to change from their plan. But the Avengers story that's unfolding here is first supposed to be, okay, let's do the Kang story. The Kang story is going to happen in that we've got a Kang-centric Avengers movie.
And are they recasting Kang?
They are very likely.
Well, they have.
Okay.
They have to.
They've
already let him go.
Yeah.
So very likely we'll get a new Kang, and that is certainly going to be the easiest way to hold on to all of the story seeds that they've planted, and we still get to have this great Kang story. Kang is a very important part to all of this, so they've got to keep Kang. Yeah. And then so they'll tell that story through Kang Dynasty, and how that's going to impact Fantastic Four and the other movies that are leading into that, the Young Avengers, with potentially a young version of Kang being the Iron Lad character, and getting involved with the Young Avengers. There's all kinds of stuff that they've seeded here that they can play out through this Kang Dynasty, to then all of a sudden have Secret Wars, where they can bring back as many characters as they want and come to this conclusion, but potentially could have like Secret Wars. There's big characters involved in Secret Wars beyond the Beyonder, beyond that character. We have Galactus, we have Doctor Doom, we have these personalities, Kang, Ultron. We have these personalities that are a big part, Molecule Man, of everything that goes on there, plus all the characters that we've seen in an opportunity to kind of come back and then have them resolve it to a new, fresh start, where we can get the next generation of Marvel stories, and they can kind of put all this multiversal craziness to rest for now, and you can get back to a different type of Marvel storytelling with maybe Miles Morales and some of these other characters, maybe fresh takes on some characters that we're familiar with. Well, hey, we could get a Black Widow, we could get Natasha Romanoff, and Tony Stark could be back with recast and the ability to do more Iron Man, or billion-dollar making movies, for them if they wanted to. They're going to have the ability to do whatever they want come after Secret Wars.
So everything you've just said about Secret Wars, because Brent's very good at segueing here into these, because I got all these notes, right? Do you think, Brent, that's why they announced that the Netflix Marvel series are now part of the overall MCU universe now? So we're talking Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, which we already knew, and Iron Fist.
Yeah, I think they like either they like to just mess with the fans, or they, for whatever their reasons are, they feel like they don't. There has been an approach with Marvel Studios and Marvel Television until there's something official to announce, then they don't announce it. And then what ends up happening is you have the fan and the media speculation takes on a life of its own, and the media tends to convince themselves that they were right, for years, because Marvel's not talking about it because they've got nothing to announce. So here we've had a situation where you've got a divided audience. Some of the audience weren't able to resolve the connection between the Netflix shows and the movies, because the movies didn't go out of their way to connect too much to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They did. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a direct connection. There was direct connections all over the place in Age of Ultron, etc. But the Netflix shows, until more recently, they've started making direct connections to those. And then there's the other camp, which I'm in part of. I think you guys are as well. We watched those shows all together. That was part of our MCU experience, was watching the movies, watching the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shows that would segued and dovetailed right back and forth from the movies back to the shows, and the Netflix shows. We watched those together. With the Netflix shows came right out of the Battle of New York, and they referenced things directly. So from a certain perspective, the fan who watched it that way, they're inextricably, of course, they're canon. We knew that from the get-go. So there was no, so for half the audience, it's like, well, duh. Yeah, we know. There's nothing new about that. But then there's the other half that were like, oh, wow, really?
Right. Yeah.
So it's just sort of getting the fans all on to one page where they've actually got them. And it's interesting to see where Disney has them on the Disney Plus app, where you can see where they fit in the timeline, which shows come before, which shows come after.
I love that they do that. Yeah.
That's very interesting, right? And even Echo, where Echo is showing up, is like, oh, okay, so Echo happened before Love and Thunder. It happens before a number, like She-Hulk. It happens before a number of these shows. So, now, of course, some of the shows will start where this at this point in the timeline, but by the time they're done, they're already alluding to it would be ahead of the next thing. So it's a tricky little job, but someone has to figure that out, right? Where do these fit?
That guy at Disney who's got to keep that
the post-it note guy, right?
That's your entire job.
What do I do here? Yeah, or the guy with the strings and the push pins. It's like, how do I make this happen? But we can't forget, these are these are comics. These are comic stories. There's a bajillion different takes on everything, So
that's how the comics work.
Why? Yeah, exactly. So I think for a binge audience that has been kind of born out of Netflix, that also may have, like me, kind of gotten into Marvel around the time that these MCU movies. Not that I wasn't into Marvel comics as a kid and a teenager, but I really kind of picked my my DC stake in the ground, I think, for the longest time, and enjoyed Marvel books, but was really I got right into things until OMAC happened, and I was like, oh, this is terrible, and the New 52. So and that was a perfect time for me to take in something like I'd watched Iron Man and Captain America, but it was when Guardians of the Galaxy came out. That's when that was the hook, line, and sinker for me in this entire thing. I'm like, wow, okay, you guys are taking me into sci-fi as well. And then for our folks at Strange Adventures, for example, Jay, to have a mentor in choosing what to read and sort of to connect those threads to here. By the way, you like Iron Man? Read this Invincible Iron Man from beginning to end. It's pretty amazing, and then to see those things coming to fruition in like Iron Man 3 and elements of these things happening. For me, I think I kind of lucked out because I had the right people around me. But if you, I was a fringe comic collector and somebody who really was just kind of interested in big exciting events. But always had people that knew better. Same with my choices in music and stuff. Always had people that were much better at picking music than me. So anyway, all this to say, for me, it was the same thing. It was kind of a no-brainer that, okay, well, here we are. We're doing this way. We're doing the Netflix. Okay, you've got the Luke Cage. Yeah, of course. New Avengers. Now I know who he is. And getting introduced to this. And just for me, it's just seeing different iterations, because you can pick up a story that really has no connection to another story, but it's still for me, that's the storytelling of comic books, and works really well in this format. It's just, I don't know why people are struggling with it so much.
To what Brent was just saying, like, I watched the Netflix series. I've watched all the MCU stuff. I find that Netflix series is very, the first three anyways, like Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil, very gritty, very down to earth. It's happening here in New York, and this is it, right? With the subtle references to the attack on New York with Loki, those kinds of things. You don't get your cosmic things, except maybe a little bit with Iron Fist, I think, Brent.
Yeah, a little bit there where they, they start to lean into the mystical by the time the hand and you're down this big tunneled hole, that's going all the way down where you've got dragon skeletons and things like that going on. And yeah, they hinted at it, but they eased everyone in similar to how they've kind of eased us into the idea of, look, they brought us the Celestials. And they teased the Celestials in various ways, a little bit at a time, until we get to the Eternals movie, and you got a whole, full experience with the Celestials. But now the audience is at a point where you can do Galactus.
Yeah.
And you don't have to make him a cloud, because the audience isn't going to go, what the heck's going on? That's right. Weird. There's a context now for a character like Galactus to appear, and that's super cool.
Yeah, it really, I mean, there's so much that's being offered out here that we haven't seen yet.
Of course, yeah.
Which is why I like the What If thing, because I had no idea about this Freak story was actually, from the comics. And to hear Brent talk about this, I'm going, this is really cool. There's so much out there for us to see. Brent, I do have one question, my last question anyways, regarding What If for you. Is there a reason we haven't seen Spider-Man yet, or is it because Sony and Marvel, that kind of connection?
I think, that's probably a fair notion, is that Spider-Man's a little more complicated, particularly considering they have their, across the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse. And
right.
Yeah.
This line of animated features, when it comes down to the contracts and stuff like that, that really gets in the way of creative freedom and sharing, and because it just creates all these legal complications. And a lot of this stuff is unfortunate, but yeah, that's very likely why they can't really touch too much on Spider-Man, because they've got contracts right now where Sony is doing animation, Spider-Man animated series, and that's all tied up in contract stuff.
Okay. That makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and they're killing it, by the way, with their animated Spider-Man. I have no complaints. As much as I'd love to see, Tom Holland show up, or his voice in these What Ifs, because Spider-Man's it would be a really fun What If.
Here's the thing: you don't need Tom Holland either. You could bring Tobey Maguire, or you could get Andrew Garfield, right?
Are you kidding me? Yeah, like why don't we? Yeah. I would love to see that too. That'd be pretty cool. But again, that's I imagine that was a whole mess of contracts to kind of sort out too. How do you make that happen in the movie itself, where they all
I think Secret Wars is going to be a lot bigger than, and just by listening to Brent talk about this, it's going to be much bigger than we expect.
When you can't have Secret Wars without Spider-Man, right?
Exactly.
Like you can't.
Which one,
or Peter Parker. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, we get the black suit.
Brent's just sitting on the other end nodding at us, going, yeah. There's things he knows.
They're figuring it out.
You think of the original Secret Wars is where Venom comes from, that black suit. That's where it came from.
That's right. Yeah.
So any fan is going to want them to have some type of a nod to the symbiote suit with Spider-Man. Will they be able to do that? Can they work that in there? They've already got the movies for Sony, etc. But can they find a way for this? Will this be where Peter comes in contact with the symbiote suit, and we get a story out of that? That would be cool.
Now we did get the symbiote did
we don't get emo Parker. That's all I don't want.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want another dance number. But but they did bring Venom over in what was the cut? What scene was that from? What
it was so Venom 2. They had him. That's when the whole thing happened, and he gets transported into Tom Holland's world.
Right, and he leaves
and when
a little bit.
He leaves a little bit of him
of
behind.
the symbiote. So I think
Right.
they've created a plausible
they've
connection.
seeded the idea. They've got us
right. Yeah. So there you go. That's all you got to. It's just an import from another multiverse, right? Like
Exactly.
or universe.
Sure.
Sorry. Yeah.
So
we
go ahead,
I was just going to say, will we see that play out somehow in connection with this build towards Secret Wars and all of these worlds going on?
Yeah.
I can't wait. This wouldn't be a show if we weren't talking about a certain event that Brent's involved with. But
Yes,
it's
of course.
because of this certain event, you and I have had a chance to talk to certain people. And I got to say, I mean, first of all, congrats to Ed Brisson.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Top billing and
Holy
special
cow.
thanks on the Echo series for episodes 2, 3, and 5. I think he was involved with.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's super cool, right? And Ed's right here. He's in Halifax, and he's comes to the East Coast Comic Expo each in recent years, and we love having him there and love talking to him because he's got a lot of cool projects on the go. And look, it's really cool when we can see the creators from our region here have success, and we have so many talented people that are doing really cool things, and this is just the latest super cool thing to happen. Bringing some attention to the creative forces at work in comics and beyond, right here on the East Coast of Canada here. Seeing his name and credits and for Echo, how cool is that? That's really great, and congrats to him.
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And another one, we had a chance to talk to this gentleman last year at East Coast Comic Expo, but Michael D'Adder named to the Order of Canada.
Yes. Yeah. You guys are killing it with guests. Yeah, that is an amazing achievement. I don't know how you find out about that. You just get
talk to us.
Yeah, that was it. Like they probably caught our interview from ECCE, and we're like, oh yeah, right, yeah. Let's
I saw it. I saw that on CBC. They were announcing that. They announced the Order of Canada people, and amongst the highlights, they included Mike D'Adder right there on the little crawl of news feed. So yeah, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. Order of Canada is one of the highest honors in this country. And to have, Mike D'Adder went to the same high school as me. He was a year ahead of me in high school. Wow. So in Moncton or Riverview rather. Yeah. So these are folks right here in our area that are doing great things, and we love to celebrate that stuff and accolades to them. Great, kudos.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we're just months away from ECCE, so I mean that's already on my radar of my I'm going to Moncton, planning my other activities, but looking forward to getting down there in June. How are things going from a planning perspective? I know it's early in the year.
I see you guys announced tables and booth applications are open now.
That's right. Yeah, so folks can the Artist Alley tables and the booths, and that's already underway. I'll share with you guys, like, we're already half sold out.
Wow.
So it just, and after it just starting. Amazing. So with lots of enthusiasm there in the threads when you post, when I get to post that stuff and see what folks are saying. So so we're looking at having some better ticket prices this year to get in, and with the interest that we've been seeing so far, we're gonna have a full house again as far as vendors and things go. So we're looking forward to it. Brent, we're just getting started. Yeah.
Big question: when are the announcements coming?
We're meeting this week. We're going to be meeting here Tuesday night, and we're gonna start that now. And here we are, 2024. So now's when I do the ramp up to a little more consistent with the posts, because we try to take a break away, and then we come back and we build some momentum so that by the time we're coming up close to the show, we've got a lot of regularity and a lot of eyes on our social media. So yeah, we're into that thread now of sharing lots, and we'll, as soon as we're able to, we haven't got our schedule set yet, so I can't give you an answer when we're going to start announcements, but that's all underway, and you guys will be among the first to know when we do.
Well, that's amazing. I love ending on a cliffhanger. Like every great episode of anything. It's so yeah, folks, you're just gonna have to keep tuning in. And keep your eye on the East Coast Comic Expo social media feeds as they get up and going. We'll do our best to amplify as much as we can. And yeah, I'm already looking forward to lugging some new gear down. I don't know. Ryan took some pictures before we got started, but we're trying some different things out, and I don't know how many cables we have on this table right now. We've got 4 cameras going, and portable lights and stuff. So I'm gonna have to wear some kind of mechanized suit to follow you guys around the floor to use all this. But I'm definitely looking forward to coming down. For me, it's about the guests, but it's also about being able to go down and document as much of the show as we possibly can. So it's always an excuse for me to get a new gadget and bring it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now
we'll look forward to seeing you guys there for sure.
Yeah. Will the Iron Man display be on display this year at East Coast Comic Expo?
Oh, good question. It has been the past. I've taken elements of the display and brought it with me, and we didn't do our little museum collection section there last year, but we'll put that to the crew, and we'll see whether we can pull that off this year or not.
I'm always happy to check that out, and it always adds an extra thing to my Christmas list. So I always say, and I start searching for these things. Beforehand. Yeah, well, some of these things aren't available or easy to find, so you really do your hunting. So I've got to do my research and then pass that along, discreetly to my family. Is where you find these things.
Just give them Brent's direct line. And...
Exactly. Well, I think that's it. We're at the end of the hour, and what a great way to start off the new year. So Brent, thanks for joining us to start off 2024. It's gonna be a strong year. We got lots of cool things coming. Not as many Marvel movies as maybe we are used to, but we've got lots of Marvel stuff to talk about, and of course the East Coast Comic Expo. It's creeping up. It's gonna. I know there's snow and some snow on the ground. It's more like frozen rain, but this winter is made all that much easier on the brain, knowing that as we come out of it, we've got something really cool to do. So looking forward to that.
It's looking forward 6 months now.
You bet, yeah, and we'll be in regular contact. So looking forward to having more chats about that, more Marvel chats, and here's to a fantastic 2024.
Looking forward to it, guys.
Right on.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Brent. And Ryan, good to be back in the saddle. The last thing we did was trivia at for a Christmas party of all things, and it actually went well. We did do an MCU section.
We won't tell Brent that because he'll ask for our Marvel cards back after.
Oh gosh,
certain things.
There may have been some factual errors that we overlooked, but thank goodness trivia folks know better sometimes than
that's
most.
Right. That's right.
And we stood corrected a couple of times, but we'll do better.
And we should say Brent will be back. We've got to talk Echo, which is out streaming right now. I haven't watched it yet.
Time to start watching it. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. As always, you can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on just about everywhere we can put this out. So thanks for following. Put a nice word in for us sometime if you like what you're hearing. And as always, stay safe.